Welcome to the Leaders Talk Podcast, where I'm your host, Jacob Hidong, and I interview leaders from every industry, from athletes to CEOs to artists to pastors to everybody that you admire most, with the sole objective of uncovering their stories. That way you could take a piece of everybody's story and apply it to your own success. So, if watching content from the people that you admire most and the most influential people sounds like something you like, subscribe down below where you get updated with every video. But today I have a very special guest.
Yeah.
Not only was he the number 15 player to come out of high school, not only was he the the 81st draft pick in the 2011 draft, not only was he a star at UM, but he's currently the DB coach. Well,
My speed right there.
My speed right there.
My speed.
Currently the DB coach at FIU, but most importantly, a proud father.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to start off. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for making the time to come out here.
Thanks for having me on the show, man.
For sure. So, I'd like to start off with the most important question. Most important. Coke or Pepsi?
Ooh, Coke or Pepsi? You know what? I got to go with Pepsi. Because my grandma, like my granddad, they were big time Pepsi people. Like they love Pepsi. Like they always sip to the corner store to get a Pepsi. Never a Coke, just go get a Pepsi, a cold Pepsi. So yeah. I gotta go to Pepsi.
That's funny because I was having a conversation with another athlete and they were like, "Oh, Coke is for like old heads." So they always choose Coke. So I thought
Pepsi. Go get me a cold Pepsi in the store. So I say Pepsi.
Yeah. So now that we got the most important question out the way, I want to start from the beginning, right? 13-year-old, 14-year-old Damarcus, what drove your passion for football then?
What drove me? I would say just the love of the game. You know, I played with a bunch of, guys that was talented. Travaris Cadet, DeLeon Gauss, Kamar Akins, Armando Allen, a bunch of guys that were pretty much that was played NFL, played a bunch of football. Yeah. And those guys kind of gave me like the motivation to pretty much to go hard in practice. And I always had the dream of pretty much to play football at the next level. So I had to I went to different high school practices, high school games, and I was like, you know what, for me to get there, I got to pretty much be great at what I'm doing right now, and which is, working hard, in off season and doing what I got to do during the season. So I think that really gave my passion to play football.
And what age do you think you started taking it, that it clicked to you, hold up, if I keep going down this path, I might end up?
They clicked to me, I would say, probably my 10th grade year in high school. I probably around 15, 16 years old, yeah.
So it's a little late though, because usually people say 13, 11 is when they started
It clicked for me, I was probably 15, 16, going into my junior season. That summer, I was trained with my DB coach named Mario Smith. He's the president, the owner of True Preparatory.
True Prep.
Yeah, True Prep. So he was my speed coach, my DB coach. And I was slow in Little League. I was probably running 5 flats, 5 twos my whole time. And I was tall and skinny. And I started training with him, and then slowly but surely I started getting faster. And we had a little pretty much a summertime testing.
Yeah.
And I ran 4.5. I was like, hold on, man, this thing if I could be I can do this thing.
And that still was slow compared to by the way, just to clarify, a 4.28.
Yeah. So
just a 4.28 40 yard. Just to put that in perspective, that's you're up there and one of the fastest, no?
Yeah, I'm probably right now top 10 in compound history, so it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah, okay. It's just okay. It's just okay. But now that we kind of see that where it really birthed it and where you started taking it serious.
Yeah.
Now fast forwarding to your coaching career.
Yeah.
Right. I think you could elaborate a little bit more on this, but being a player, seeing that side of the world has allowed you to become a better coach.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to ask you, because there's a saying always that coaches say that it's a lot deeper than football.
Yeah.
But when do you say that to your players too?
Yeah.
So when you do say that, what does it mean to you?
I think as far as because on off the field, it's deeper than football with me because one, I play the game at that level they're playing right now, and I understand, you got to balance football, grades, your lifestyle, things like that, but also, these kids are dealing with more than football, and they're at that age. They're dealing with, the family back home, off the field things, and I've been through all of that, being a guy from Miami, so I try to give to them like as a father figure, like a big brother to them, is more than a coach, because sometimes, you know, you try to be a coach all the time, you tend to lose them as a player. So you got to pretty much throw different angles at them. Like, look, man, you know, I've been through what you're going through right now. So don't get too down on yourself. Don't get too high on yourself. Always pretty much remain level-headed.
Yeah.
I try to preach that to them all the time.
So you think that your advantage of being a coach is being able to relate to them in a way that some coaches that haven't been in that side of the world can't?
Yeah, I think so. I know because I always had this saying, like, I can't tell you something I didn't do. You know, so I have done everything they're trying to do as far as, you know, play Division I football, you know, was on a roll and pretty much was blessed enough to play in the NFL. So I'm gonna give you all the answers to the test. Just trust me.
Exactly. So actually, now that you mentioned that you were an NFL player, for, let's say for the high school athlete out there,
Yeah.
junior, senior year, they got a couple offers.
Yeah.
Their North Star is to make it to the NFL,
Yeah.
right? What's your advice to that person on choosing a college to continue to play at?
I think my advice to choosing a college, man, I know in this day and age, the whole transfer portal, I think sometimes you can't really choose a school because of a coach, or I know I said that for a school. You got to go for who you think that best fits you. You know, if that makes sense. Like, you know, I chose mine because I think it best fitted me as far as, you know, my personality, you know, and what they offer off the field.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes, you know, coaches come and go. You know what I'm saying? So that's why you got to use, like, what best fits you. You know, it's like, because once everything's settled out, you know, because coaches leave every 6 months. So you want to go to a school where I say, okay, well, how can the school benefit me as a player and as a student athlete? So sometimes some kids get caught up in the matrix, like, man, you know what, I'm going because of this coach is here. But sometimes that coach will leave and go somewhere else, and now you stuck at a school that you want to be at. So you got to find a school that best fits you on off the field, because I can go somewhere, I go to, say, a school is in Jupiter. Man, once football season's over with, what I'm gonna do? Like, if I'm a guy that want to hang out, I can't go there because I'm gonna be bored. I'm gonna do something crazy.
Yeah.
Now, if it's a school that I know I'm kind of like, you know, chill, I don't really hang out, I go to a school like that because I don't need to go. I can just pretty much just pay my books and pay my playbook.
Yeah. So kind of just find a school that acclimates to you.
Best fit you, yeah.
Yeah. So now that we learned, I think we're gonna paint the picture. We're gonna keep, like, you ever been to a museum?
Yeah.
And you have the fossils and you have the sand and you have to dust off with the sand?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Kind of, that's what we're gonna do. We're dusting
Okay.
off the head right now, and we're gonna
Gotcha.
continue going. Now, reflecting back, who or what do you think inspired you to keep going with everything?
My mom. My mom was kind of like the one that kind of like gave me that drive to be, you know, who I am today. You know, single parent family. My dad went to prison when I was 3. So in between that time, I was with my mom and my granddad, you know, was kind of like the father figure, you know, but I went to his house on weekends. So I seen my mom, like, you know, wake up at 4 in the morning, go work, and come home like at 6, you know, and without complaint. So, like, I got that drive from her, like, man, look, I wake up in the morning right now at 5:30, just wake up because of her, you know. So I think my success is pretty much a huge, like, contribute from her.
And what do you think you learned? What was, like, the main thing that you learned from your mom?
Never complain, because somebody always got it worse than you. You know, you can always complain about something, and somebody out there that's got it worse than you. So always pretty much be grateful for what you got and make the best of it.
Yeah, that's real. So I kind of want to talk about your coaching career.
Yeah.
You've come across dozens of exceptional athletes,
Yeah.
a lot of them who made it to the next level. But not all of them are at the same level.
Okay.
Like, they make it to the next level, they succeed. Some of them don't continue going on to the NFL.
Yeah.
But what has been the biggest separator to those that have it and, like, make it to the next level and succeed at the next level versus those who don't?
I would say, man, at the level of Division I football, I think everybody is talented.
Yeah.
You're there for a reason. What separates some kids from others is the extra work, because everybody has the same mandatory hours, the same 2 hours in weight room. So if I'm doing the same thing you're doing, how I'm gonna get better than you? So I gotta do something that's extra hour work, or doing something like, okay, I'm gonna go out there on my own in the morning time, do some field work. I'm going to in the facility, watch some film, because if everybody doing the same thing, both the same talent, who's getting better? We both staying the same way. So how am I put away from you? I'm not doing nothing better. I'm not doing anything extra. So I think the guys that I've been around, like the Kenny Phillips, um, the Cam Kitchens, just the guys name a few. Like I always saw those guys. Like I played with Kenny Phillips at Miami. He was a guy that pretty much was always staying in the film room. And I was in the NFL with Trey Polamalu and Ryan Clark. Those guys stayed in the film room like always did extra work. So Antonio Brown was a guy that pretty much. I got to Pittsburgh. I remember like just watching him like going outside, just doing extra work. Like he always did extra stuff. Like he never did what everybody else did. He always did extra work.
Yeah.
And that's why he had a great career in the NFL because of
Yeah.
what he did. Like outside of the office, outside of the hours, he always did extra work. And I think just doing extra always separates you from everybody else.
Yeah. And I was listening to an interview from Kobe, and he was explaining a little bit. Like someone asked him, "Hey, like why are you so much better than the other athletes?" And he said it was so easy because as soon as they got to the league, as soon as they got a check, their drive just went like, kind of like went like that.
Yeah.
And he was able to still have that same drive and outwork others, and that was really the key to his success.
Yeah, and that's also true too. And I'm like I said, I was guilty of that too. My first year in the NFL, I was like, you your whole year, your whole career, your whole life, you dream about getting drafted, go to the NFL, and then it happened. You get a big paycheck. You like man, like what I'm doing now. Like I done got everything I done pretty much dreamed of. So I had to pretty much reset myself, and say, look, man, you didn't do this for the money. You did it for the legacy.
Yeah.
So I think you can sometimes I think that's human nature sometimes to get complacent where you get to your dream, you get the money, now you're like, man, I did it.
Yeah.
But you gotta also realize, hey, look, man, I'm trying to get something better than this. So I think that's normal, to feel like that.
So
way.
you think you fell a little bit into complacency once?
Yeah, your dream, you get drafted, get a big paycheck, and then all of a sudden you get it, it's like, man, what's next? Like I done got everything I dreamed about.
Yeah.
So you gotta sometimes keep that hunger, try to find little things, that get that edge. And I think the great players, the Hall of Famers, they have that edge. Like Ryan Clark, I was with him in Pittsburgh. He always felt that, everybody was better than him. That's why he always worked hard, like film room, weight room, because he had a chip on his shoulder. He was probably, at that time when I was playing with him at Pittsburgh, he was probably one of the best safeties in the NFL. But he always had he put a chip on his shoulder and created a narrative that, hey man, these guys, the draft, I didn't get drafted, so all those guys that they drafted for me, they thought it was better than me, so I got to always remain hungry. So that's kind of why he had his edge. And I think the great players always have a little ego to them. I'm not ego, like a little edge on their shoulder, a chip on their shoulder to keep them going.
Yeah, that's powerful. Thinking that everybody's better than you, so you're always outworking. I read it somewhere. I don't know if you know the quote. It was like, every man is my superior, and I get better from every man because of that.
Yeah.
Like something along that line. But kind of continuing with that. 2011, right?
Yep.
You're drafted. Complete your dream. Family's proud of you. But did you feel fulfilled? Like, was there still an emptiness in you?
No, that was like getting drafted was like one of my best days, man. Other than my kids being born, and marrying my wife, it was like one of my best days, man, because it was something I dreamed about my whole time, man. Just hearing your names on the bottom TV, hearing a team call you, like
surreal.
So I was like, man, I was filled with joy, man. I was like, I did it. So don't empty feel no here.
Yeah. Actually, actually, let's say, what does this emotion give you when I say this phrase? With the 81st pick in the 2011 draft, the Oakland Raiders select Damarcus Van Dyke.
Man, it brings chill to me, like kind of like my eyes kind of like getting a little teary out of it, man. Cause just think about that feeling, just hearing your name called and hearing your mom jump around. My son, I still got like a snapshot of that whole day, like in my head, just hearing you say that again. Like my mom on my left shoulder, like choking me like this.
Yeah.
My son right there, my like just my
Surreal,
grandma. It was
completely.
surreal. Like it was crazy.
What did your mom say to you when you?
I'm proud of you. I'm proud. And she just like, hey, I don't want anything. I don't want no new car, no new house. I want you to just pretty much just take care of yourself and take care of your at the time I had one child, my son. It's like, take care of your son and make sure he's okay.
That's right. I want to go back to your son, but before we finish the NFL segment, because I think there was, like you said, there's a gap sometimes that players that from D1 college football, they make it to the next level, they fall into complacency.
Yeah.
So I know that's a big problem, like you said, but what do you think's the biggest problem separating those that fall into complacency and those that don't?
I think the biggest problem I think that's separating them two is the ones that remain hungry, always be hungry. The ones that don't, it's hard to start them back up because they got to what they want. Like you got to think about it, some kids have different dreams. Like not everybody, not it's crazy to see a lot of kids don't have a dream going to the NFL. Like some kids' dreams is to get a degree from University of Miami or a degree from where they want to be at, FIU, whatever. So it's like, some kids' dreams are different. They may say they want to be to the NFL, but they really want to be there. And they show by action. So it's like, I think that's the biggest difference between the two.
And actually, going back to your kids now.
Yeah.
So your son, you have 2 kids.
I have 2 kids. I have a 12-year-old son, Damarcus Van Dyke Jr., and I have a 6-year-old daughter named Kajo Lee Van Dyke.
That's great.
Yeah.
So your son plays for the Ravens.
Yep.
Right.
I'm the Ravens. Yeah.
He's kind of following your footsteps because you played football. You're a great person to model after because you've been there, you've done that. So now you have experience to give him on that. But what's the advice that you constantly remind him of?
It's funny you say that because me and my wife had this talk every probably 2 or 3 months about, do he want to do this? And I always kind of ask myself, let me ask him, do he want to do this? And I always, if we drive home, I say, yo, man, this is something you want to do? He'd be like, yeah, I want to do it. And I'm like, hey, look, man, if you're going to do this, you got to always go 100%. You can't be out there, have, this going half-stepping at this sport. Yeah. And I invite him, I say, man, just always have fun with it. Don't never get too serious. Don't never take yourself too serious. Always have fun with this game because it can be going like this. And don't ever take it for granted also. Yeah. And I think he's at that age where, they're having fun with it. As far as it's a lot of business party with this whole NIL and they ranking kids. And I try to pretty much keep him away from that. But it's hard because social media, so I try to keep him as humble as possible. Yeah. And be the tough parent at the house with him on that. But I just tell him, just have fun with it, man, because end of the day, man, there's something that you've been doing. I've been doing my since I was 4 years old. He was doing it since 4 years old. So don't make it a job.
Yeah. Kind of to tie the ribbon to the package that we're seeing too. We're undusting. We're on the tail of the dinosaur. We're undusting it. You left your job at UM.
Yeah.
School that you were at.
Yeah.
You graduated from there, played there, right? Why did you make that change to go from UM to FIU?
I think at that point in my coaching career, I think it was time for me to go somewhere else, and have my own opportunity to run my own room. I did it, in 2021 with Coach T-Rob. Me and him kind of spearheaded the secondary together. And in 2022, previous year I was an analyst, and the opportunity came again in 23. This previous year, this year right now, to be the cornerback coach. I had to take it, because my end goal is to be a head coach somewhere. So I had to pretty much take that leap, to show that I can do it and continue to grow in the profession. Yeah. I didn't want to get, pigeonholed and, stay in the spot, where, hey man, I don't see no room for growth. Yeah. And, and I think it was time for me to go. Coach Chris doing a great job with those guys down there. Yeah. Coach Guidry, all those guys, Coach Cooney, Coach KB, Coach Kim Harris, those guys doing a great job with those guys. And they're going to be Coach D trained. They're going to do a good job this year at Miami. Yeah. But I think it was time for me to leave the nest, and pretty much spread my wings, pretty much try this. See what's out there because I kind of feel myself getting comfortable. Yeah. I was like, man, you know what, let me just go and see what I can do out on my own, man. And it was, me and Coach Chris, we talk, we still talk to this day, so he was like, man, he's kind of like, hey, man, anything I need, let me know. So it was something, I think sometimes you got to go to come back, and if it's meant for you to come back, I'd love to, but if not, man, I'm always be a hurricane.
Yeah. My dad always told me, he was like, sometimes you have to let the butterfly go away. Yeah. And the bird go away. When it comes back, then it's good. But at the same time, it seems like you're kind of reigniting your flame and the hunger of football. Because like you said, you got a little comfortable at UM. Yeah. But you're you switch up the job now to obviously continue on with your dream of becoming a head coach. But it's like a lighter, reigniting that in you. I want to ask you 2 last questions. If you had to redo your whole football career over again, what would you do differently? And what would you not do?
If I had to redo, this may be a cliche. I won't change anything. They everybody always say that. But I'm gonna give you an answer.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say, you know, if I had to redo my whole football career, I would say, man, I would I think I could have been more of the student of the game, you know, and like, you know, I kind of early on in my career, I felt like, you know, I just worry about what I had to do as far as like, man, I'm the cornerback, I got my guy, I got cover three, I got thirds, I got cover two, I got the J in the flats. I didn't worry about what the safety had to do. I didn't worry about what the D-line had to do. But when I got older, I started to realize, man, that could make me a better player early on. So I think, you know, if I would have took that approach early on in my career as far as high school, college, man, I think I'd have been much better player, you know, as far as being a better student of the game.
Yeah.
So I think that's,
How does someone become a better student of the game?
I think, man, just getting uncomfortable, you know, just don't be comfortable in knowing what you got to do. Like, man, if I could say, like, you know, try to learn the grand scheme of things. Why are we doing this? Why are we running cover two? Why are we running cover three? And I think that'll help our players. You know, I try to tell my son that, you know, I was with him yesterday practicing, and I was telling him, like, hey, man, you know, in cover three, you got this third of the field. Like, don't think you just got this guy. You got this third of the field.
Yeah.
And he over there, those guys at Miami Gone Ravens, Coach P, Coach Noah, Coach Rod Mack, Coach Lou, Coach Ira, those guys did a great job of coaching. Coach Hartfield, those guys they probably do a phenomenal job of coaching those kids up, man. And they doing it. Something I had to like tell them, hey, man, become a student of the game. Don't just be worry about what you got to do at cover three.
Yeah.
What about what the safety got to do? How about the D line? So that's why I say to be a better student of the game.
Yeah. So I think what we're seeing is that you became the leader that you are today with your coaching job through all the experience, through all the hardships that you went through learning through your own mistakes of like how you said you got complacent your first year, but then you picked up on that. And now it seems like you're at the point where you're full throttle. You're ready to, like how you said, take on that head coaching job at, God willingly, whatever school that you end up coaching at. But I want to end off with this. To that person, the athlete, right now, high school, college, whatever it may be, they're ready to take it to the next level, but they're having doubts about their abilities. Someone's telling them that they can't do it, whatever it may be. What's your advice to that person?
That's a great question. I would say, man, my advice to every kid out there that having doubts, and it's something my granddad always tell me. He's like, man, great players don't lose confidence, regardless of what the outcome is, like regardless of the outcome. And if you're a great player, you're gonna know it. Don't let nobody tell you you're not great. And it's something that kind of stuck with me since I was probably like 6 years old. Like, you know, if I get beat on a play, I always like reset myself. Okay, I'm a great player. Like that was my fault why I got beat. It wasn't them being better than me. It's my fault. And also, man, this pretty much always remain positive. Something my mom always tell me is like, you know, positive thoughts create positive outcomes. Like if you think negative, man, the worst gonna happen. Like if you think positive, and the best gonna happen. You know, and that's something that's kind of like something I always live on, man. You know, and sometimes I catch myself, you know, thinking negative, and I be surprised like when negative things happens, because I thought negative the whole time. But if I be like, man, you know what, I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, everything gonna be all right. It happens. So just always remain positive, think positive thoughts. Always, hey man, positive thoughts create positive outcomes, and everything be good for you. Always remember that, and it'll be all right.
That's true. And I think that can be felt amongst any industry. You don't have to be an athlete. Just
anything. As far as athletes, man, just always put in extra work. Do extra.
And everything. Always outwork everybody. But thank you guys so much for making it to the end. I hope you guys took a little piece, or a big piece actually, because there's a lot of information to come from this, but took a little piece from his story, his success, and applied it to your own. But thank you so much for making it to the end. Anything you want to leave off on?
Hey man, positive thoughts create positive outcome. Pause up, baby.
See you on the next. Hey, make sure to stay tuned to the season at FIU, but see you guys on the next one.